So developing learning and learning programs has definitely become a much more collaborative process than it ever has before, with employees working with leaders to create learning versus it coming top down as it was before.
Yeah.
Jean, talk a little bit about
Yeah,
how
we
you
started
do
doing that about 10 years ago in Cisco Learning Network. It was one of our key philosophies in learning was that while we had a lot of great content and we had millions of users that are out there learning, and we're trying to create a whole ecosystem of people that understand our the networking and the technology. As much as we could offer, we could never offer enough. There was always things that they wanted to know that we couldn't provide them information on, that just wasn't there at that moment of need. And so about 10 years ago, we created this social learning environment called Cisco Learning Network, and now Cisco Collaborative Knowledge, which you see in your packet in there, is essentially the next generation of that. But what we went out with the philosophy on was that we would sort of create the ground. We would create the ground and we create the foundation for all the learning. We create the capability for people to come together and collectively work together and learn from each other. That we would bring together some of the top experts on those topics and ask them to come in and moderate and talk to these people just like we're doing today, right? We have these people coming into the site and using it. And essentially what happened was, because it became sort of the information resource for the company, it became the information resource for the entire industry, millions of people. And more than 50% of the content that was being generated was all being generated by the community itself. And it was all searchable and findable. And so suddenly we went from a training site that was social learning to an information site, which now is becoming the collaboration site, the place where people come to work, not just to actually find information. Now they're coming to work together and actually strategize together and plan together and work on projects together. And now the community all knows each other. So now they're getting very independent in their actions. Sort of like we built it, they came, we fostered it, we encouraged it, we introduced them to each other, we gave them insight on each other so that they knew how to find each other. And, so this is how we brought together this aspect of, not just a virtual space, but a collaborative space that actually produced so much data and information that got fed back to the community that they then were able to use it to help themselves and serve themselves. And so it was something that allowed us to create this as the standard in the industry to move the learning agenda forward without having to contribute 100% ourselves, right? It's really important. I think it's really important when you think about learning that the groups get involved and engaged and take it over. You know that you've had a successful learning program when they start to take it over, the people that are there to learn and there to teach, and they essentially push the agenda for you. Yeah, so I'd encourage you to, take a look at some of those examples. And we use everything for learning. We use, of course, video, and we assume mobile from day one. We assume that we have deep expertise and then no expertise coming into the site. So we lay the whole site up with, sort of a look and feel of an information portal, not just a learning portal. And you won't recognize an LMS in this whole thing. It doesn't look like an LMS. It looks like really a great site to learn about this industry, about what's great about it, where the jobs are, how to get things done, and then to understand the careers and the paths and the way to move forward. And so we use this as our way to mentor these millions of people that we had to grow overnight. We had to grow from a couple 100,000 people to close to 3 million, and now we're on our next path to get to 5 million people to help the industry grow at large. But yeah, I can completely attest to Robert that those things work, and we've been putting them into practice for about 10 years, and it's how you can find new ways to engage with your community too. You can use it internally and externally. We found that by using it internally and externally, bringing them all together, actually what we got from that is a new sense of collaboration between our internal technologists and our external technologists, and that really created the next wave of innovation.
So I think that what Jen talked about and Robert about expanding to a larger virtual community is absolutely where I believe the hidden talent is actually outside, not on the inside, and they're eager to contribute and be part of solving some of these problems. So the more we can reach out and we can create an environment for learning. I think that the more critical it is, and I think the more we do that when it comes to education, because there are lots of people in the world globally that don't have access to basic learning, basic knowledge, basic education. So the more we get partnership with the private sector to create that space, what an incredible value for our youth, for our women, for our girls to be able to access, get basic information that we in the Western Hemisphere we take for granted. So I think that's absolutely the right approach. We have a project we call Unite Ideas, and our view is we know what the problem is, right? We understand the problem. I don't think we know the questions to ask, because we ask questions for what we know, and we don't know a lot. So I wouldn't say I know what the questions to ask. I know what the problem is. And through that, we put it out and we say, hey, here's a problem. Come up with ways of looking at it differently, solving it, mashing data, help us. And we try to reach out to that wonderful youth globally who wants to do good and come in and contribute. So I think those are the projects that we think if we involve the rest of the world, and that connected, I said we are connected sapiens. If we include them and we involve them in the problem solving and the learnings, we learn more as a connected species, really, which is starting to pick up, and I think it's a way forward. Thank you.